Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horrific Chats. In this segment, we talk to various creators to discuss their influence journey into horror, their processes, influences, and all that good stuff. And tonight, we are joined by writer William Bove. Good evening and welcome. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good. Good evening, Colin. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. Always good to catch up, chat. You've been involved with the show quite a while ago, actually. You came on board, so always good to have our contributors on. Let people get to meet you. Maybe annoy a few people as well in the process. That's always fun.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just generally shoot the breeze and see how we go with it. So interesting times at the moment. Just a lot of things going on, obviously, in the world, and
Definitely.
we're coping with that. But life goes on, and we'll keep going.
Definitely.
So, how's life treating you anyway?
Really, really good. I'm glad the autumn season is here. Well, to me, it's technically here. It's not here technically yet, but I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year.
I'm just glad it's finally cooled down. Sort of July, August, we were going through a heat wave. I mean, you couldn't even think. It was just that close and sticky, and to try and get any sort of thought process or work done was just absolutely horrendous. So now the temperatures are sort of normal again. I can actually think and move forward. I'm not just sitting here with a towel going, oh my God, will it ever stop? We don't have
Oh,
air
I know.
conditioning in this country. So if it goes above normal temperatures, it's like, oh, we can't cope.
Oh, yeah. In the States and the Midwest where I am, it's sweltering and the humidity is so disgusting and sticky. It just clings to you, like you were saying.
Oh God, there's no end to it. But yeah, the only thing I don't like is the lack of daylight. Obviously in the northern hemisphere, I just think gets this time it's just dark all day and the skies are just grey permanently. Where it's nice to actually remember you're alive. Although horror fans, we love the darkness. It's still vitamin D is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a horror writer. For those that are familiar with you, what is it that
Definitely.
first got you into the genre? Because as we've found out, even though horror is one of the most long-standing and massive range of genre, is still considered niche for some strange reason, and it's not everybody twigs it. So, how did you first get into horror? What was your first experience?
When I was 6 years old, my father read to me The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. And he said to me, I think you're old enough and smart enough to understand this. And as he read, I just sat back in spellbound wonderment at Poe's style and use of symbolism and allegory and illustration. And everything in my soul and my spirit woke up and said, this is for you. This is what your life is to be. This is what you're to do with your life. And it just took off from there.
So, through writing, was that? Did you ever watch the movie adaptation? I think it was Vincent Price was in it.
No, but I've been meaning to.
That's a
I'm surprised I haven't by now, but I've heard it's really excellent.
that's a Hammer classic. Flip
Oh
here, we
yeah.
might do it sometime in the show. Love to review movies, so here, watch a space. So might pop that one on and jump on and talk about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'd be cool.
Always good. So how is it? Maybe a wee bit more accepting in your country, but how is it being a horror fan? Do you find yourself out in the fringes? Trying to fit in with the normies? Do they get freaked out, or how do they normally react when you say, "I love people getting dismembered and ghosts and spirits and all that fun stuff"?
Oh no, people love it in America, especially in the Midwest, because the Midwest has so many ghost stories and so many cryptid stories. And where I live in Missouri, I live near St. Louis, Missouri, and Bigfoot is my favorite cryptid. And Bigfoot has a lot to do with Missouri, or did in the past, like in the Ozarks, and a lot of Bigfoot sightings all over the rest of the Midwest, and a lot of urban legends, and again, a lot of ghost stories. And actually, where I'm from, well, I'm not from St. Louis. I live near St. Louis, but
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis was made famous partially for part of the events of The Exorcist. And part of my family lives in the same neighborhood that part of the events in St. Louis happened.
Oh, cool. America is the sort of birthplace of the urban legend. I mean, that is like a mid to late 20th century phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
It's carried on. What do you think? Was it the old folk tales of Europe kind of given a new twist at a new environment? What do you think brought that sort of thought process about? Was it looking at the new forest, the endless forests, and with the trepidation of being in a new country and setting up a new life? Do you think that's what partially gave birth to it, or was it maybe seeing the unique animals that you have in your continent? What do you think is it sort of drove that creation? Because pop culture has been massively influenced by it, not the other way around. It's not a Hollywood creation. You know what I mean? It's been a major influence. It's been of Hollywood, if that makes sense, but it's definitely
Mhm.
generated by the people. Where did it all stem from?
I think as human beings, we have an innate sense and wonder for horror and terror and romanticism. We want to know what's out there. We're so curious about it. And given how old the human race is from then till now, that hasn't left us. We want to be scared. We want to be terrified. We associate that thrill with an exhilarating love of life. So when we see a dark forest landscape and fog and mist and the trees in the night, and we don't know what's in there, our imagination placates to our soul and our deepest primal natures and fills in the gaps of what's in there. And we're scared and terrified. And oral tradition is our most valued, I think, tradition in storytelling. We have to tell others. And when we tell others, we have an excitement and an enthusiasm. And we're afraid and we're terrified and we don't want to know what's out there beyond what we saw, but yet we do want to know what's out there. We want to give it to other people. We want to we want to be able to share with them what we saw, what we thought, and connect with them. That never stops. That I think is the main drive of it. And the stories and folk tales from Europe just fueled it and gave a new soul to it and a new fire that I believe the colonies and Americans and the states adopted. And through that merging, storytelling became richer and deeper and more frightening and more terrifying. And people found a newfound love for the storytelling, connecting with others about what scares them the most, about what's out there in the dark.
Actually, funny because it was a couple of weeks ago. We because it was the 15th anniversary, I think, of The Witch,
Hmm.
and we reviewed it, and I think that movie exemplifies that sort of rawness of facing the landscape.
Oh, yeah.
And it actually, you know, I mean, it's almost the human spirit gave birth to demons, you know, in that essence.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
How difficult is it? Because I almost feel like today, and that's why I'm a major proponent for independent creators. It's almost like we're getting the creativity beaten out of us, and you know, everything's becoming sanitized and safe, and paint by numbers, and fast food chain. I always describe modern Hollywood as a fast food chain of, yeah, it's comfort food at times. Yes, it's nice to go for a burger and fries, but it's not going to a restaurant. It's not taking a risk or doing anything exciting and new. How do we maintain that wonder? How do we how do we keep it going? Because there are elements that just uh the one has become numbers on a spreadsheet, you know, not actual living, thinking, feeling human beings, which imagination is vital to the human condition, in my opinion, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's those that are literally trying to stamp it out just so that we can take the next product off a conveyor belt and not ask questions. How do we stand against that? How do we actually keep creativity alive?
I think there's parts of the human spirit and the human soul that can't be touched by anything negative, that can't be ripped away or torn out of us. There are essential parts that make us human no matter what happens, no matter what occurs. And to build on that, there is a spirit to, I think, in every decade and every century. And I feel right now, there's a renaissance happening, specifically in Gothic horror and vampires and horror, possibly the biggest ever. And there's such a big resurgence in horror and Gothic literature and the Gothic feel and vampires and what scares us. We're finding new platforms to redefine what fear actually is, what storytelling fear can be. And then, like I said before, give it to everyone else. And that, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, creates a domino effect. It creates an awakened cell of spirit in everyone who it touches and everyone who is experienced by it and experiences it. And then again, the domino effect, it grows and it builds, and other people catch that excitement like a fever, and it grows and it grows and gets an appetite. and it has a will of its own and a life of its own, like every living thing does.
So just a matter, just don't give up. I think it's so easy to think, like a lot of people see success, like the instant models, the social media influencers, all they think about are clicks and likes and not actually creating anything. I know it's a very heavy level of narcissism today, and I think that's people feel you need to be that to be a success in life. And I don't know, the essence of horror is to stare yourself in the mirror and not like what you see for a moment and enjoy the experience because you stepped through it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this sort of weird sanitized world we live in, or which is sort of attempted to be imposed upon us. I've never been like that. I like to see where the line is and get pushed a bit. I like the sort of I love monsters. That's always been my thing.
Oh yeah.
I love to see the new type of monster, the new ways of invoking the monster, and the human reaction when faced with the monster. That's
Mm-hmm.
always been my drive. Because only by that's the only way you can see yourself. If you're not up against it, if you're not faced with the ultimate annihilation, or even worse, eternity of torture, which that's why I love the other realm type beings, because it's not, you just don't get killed. A slasher movie, you get killed, that's it, game over.
Oh
But
yeah.
with the sort of more ethereal, like vampires are a good example.
Oh, I love
If
vampires.
even worse than just being fed upon by a vampire is if you're unwillingly taken as a supplicant,
Mm-hmm.
a vampire becomes your master. In fact, Anne Rice did it beautifully with the interview, the Stat series, Interview with the Vampire, all
Oh
three
yeah.
books. Um, even we'll forget the movie because the third movie, sorry, the second movie of the third book, which was sort of half of the second book and the weird stuff in the third. We'll forget that ever happened. But in the
Mm-hmm.
third book, even Queen's sister was unwilling in the whole adventure, and that resentment over a millennia, it built up.
Oh yeah, McCarran Maharet.
Yeah, I terrible with names. I forget, and I just when you don't plan to talk about something and you're trying to scrape my
Huh.
tiny little brain and all the information I try to cram into it,
Oh
names are the
yeah.
first to go out the window. But yeah, to become the unwilling servant of a monster, and that's eternity, unless you
Mm-hmm.
choose death. But then there's a self-preservation of, uh, we all want to live. There's that in the sense of wanting to live, which is another vital aspect of horror. You see yourself of wanting to live. That's where when we're faced with death or horror, that that's when you most embrace life.
Oh yeah.
How do we get normies to understand that? Because all you get to reaction of, oh, you're a psychopath. Oh, how do you actually get the message to normies that this is a valid form of art? It's a valid form of expression, and we need to, it has as much a place, if not more, because in the end, horror hasn't been completely bastardized or chopped to bits like other franchises have. Other franchises, sci-fi and fantasy, the two worst, that have just become corporate bland. You can't tell, there's no difference between world building. It's all the same. You watch one and you've seen 100.
Hmm.
Where even horror movies still manage to bring a different bit of flavor. How do we explain that to people?
I think if you love it, they'll love it. Like I said, if you have a love for, like I do, for horror and terror and romanticism, especially vampires, if you show them your love, if you express to them what's in your heart about it, they'll pick up on it. But even if it's not for them, it's just a question of finding a way to make it relatable to them, to where they'll love it, to where they'll become excited by it. Because the one unifying thing, if nothing else, is we're all creatures capable of being afraid, and we love being afraid. It's why people go to amusement parks and ride not carousel, the
Or like the Big Dipper, or the what do you call them? Swingy
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, or things that are really high up in the air. It's why people
Mm-hmm.
skydive. It's why people swim with sharks or do a lot of other things. People are like, you're insane. You're crazy. What are you doing that for? You could die. And then the response is, no, it exhilarates me. I want to do it. It's fun. It's the same thing with horror, because if you notice, anybody of any breed and background will go to a movie to see horror, whether it's for the thrill of the story or to go with their first date for the excitement of getting close or for their favorite director or because they're just a big gore monkey and they love to see that splatter and the entrails and the bodies opened up or somebody becoming a monster. It's their favorite creature. It's just a measure of finding what reaches and excites the person most. And it's like a chain reaction. It touches one person and the next and the next and the next. And again, if you love it, they'll love it. But if you find it boring and tedious, that's what it's going to be. It's like the old adage, if you're in a bad mood, don't cook because people will taste it.
Hmm.
Again, as long as you love what you're doing, others will too, because you're drawing on resources from being a human being and the human experience that is relatable and interconnected to every human being. They may not do it the way you do it. They may not do it at all, but you can reach them and you can reach anybody with it and anybody through it. Because if you'll notice, people, after they get frightened, they smile. It excites them and it makes them happy. And it makes them happy because it can remind them of times when they were a child. And like, say you grew up in the 80s, you're sitting in the dark and your parents are asleep down the hall and HBO's on and you want to watch that horror movie that only comes on at 11:30, or the first time you went trick or treating, or the first time you dodged your parents and went with your friends and maybe did something you shouldn't have on Halloween, or hung out in a graveyard, and that first thrill of excitement, like, is something going to come out of a grave? Your brain says, no, that's silly. It's not going to happen. But some parts of you wants to look over at that grave and see the ground disturb itself and heave like it's breathing, and
Yeah,
a
and like,
decrepit
oh,
hand shoot up, yeah, claw at you. I mean, you know it's not going to happen. Part of you hopes it will, and it makes you smile. It makes you happy.
actually, talking about when I went to see the Black Phone,
Oh,
uh,
yeah, I saw
right,
that.
right, he got me twice.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, and you know yourself. Oh, it's a Sasquatch movie. I'm not going to jump. I'm a big man. I'm a long-standing horror fan. You're not going to get me. Oh, you got me. And I'm laughing. I'm actually laughing, going, oh, you shithead, you got me. And even the one, the bit in the bike, where she's driving on the bike, and you saw it in the trailer, you knew it was coming, but he managed
Mhm.
to get me, and I'm like, I knew that was coming. What? How'd you get me? And I'm, that initial jump, and then I'm buckling with laughter afterwards. And I think other
Mhm.
people in cinema thought I was insane because I'm like, like a wee kid. But I was
Oh,
laughing at
yeah.
the director, going, you got me. Nobody gets me. Fair play to you. You win. You win this round, damn it. But your next 5 movies, I'm ready for you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? It's just uh I don't know. People do think you're deranged for enjoying the fun with horror, but if you get on board mentally, it's a journey like no other.
Mhm.
What has it
Oh,
made
yeah.
you decide to become a creator? Because that's a different step altogether. There's one thing looking at reviewing horror, looking at it, giving your opinions. Oh, I just went to cinema last night. I saw this, but to actually start yourself in the creative journey, what what was your motivation? I kind of get a bit of it. You're talking about you want to share the journey, but what made you decide? Okay, I want to actually create and put something out there.
It was for me personally, it wasn't something I decided. It was something I was born with. Um, it was a gift from my mother, as I like to see it. My mother was an artist. She painted and she drew and she sang. I never knew her. She passed away when I was younger,
No, sorry to
but
hear that.
oh, thank you. I have her old paint set, and all of her talents and everything she had, she poured into me. And her talents express themselves in me most strongly with my writing. But when you're an artist, or you come to it naturally, or you're born with it, you see the world in a different way. You see perception, and you see sights and colors, and experience life a much different way than I would say, for lack of a better word, normies would. Not to be insulting with that, but you see differently.
Oh
It's
no, it's a joke term. At the end of the day, it's I don't believe in, and it's part of this stupid culture we're in now. Not everything's black and white. Shades of grey all over, and you can
mhm.
like something or not like something. It doesn't automatically make you the enemy. So let's be clear with that. It's just an affectionate term, and it's more laughing at ourselves for being the
Mhm.
fringes, if that makes sense. But sorry, yeah, go ahead. So you're
Oh, no, no, you're fine. It's like Edgar Allan. There's a quote by Edgar Allan Poe: "From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others have seen." That for me, that encapsulates it pretty well. I kind of messed up that word. Anyway, you're you see and feel and experience life a lot different than anyone around you. If you're a natural born artist, or if you're a natural born engineer, or a natural born athlete, you're driven by different things from on a primal level, on a spiritual level, and on a humanistic level than say maybe others are around you. You're not satisfied with the status quo, with this means A plus B equals C. For you, it's more like A plus B equals an oasis in Malibu or something. Um, you're different naturally because you're connected to different things, deeper things that maybe other people will come to in many years, or maybe other people are born to as well that you just haven't met yet. But the point is, you're when you're born to it naturally, you see and feel and experience differently, and that pretty much sets your pattern of who you are and your path of what your life will be, as opposed to a conscious choice. Now you can make a conscious choice and have the same feelings and the same perceptions happen, but for me, I it just came so naturally. I was just born with it.
Oh, cool. It's nice to, I suppose, have that connection, especially like you've mentioned your mother. Do you feel it's maybe a way to connect with her, that you lost out in life, but through art, it's your kind of opportunity. You'd be able to pick up the mantle and go, well, you're not forgotten. You're not, you know what I mean? You're part of me because I'm doing this, and
That's
kind of
exactly how
gone
I've
through.
always
Yep.
felt, Colin. That's exactly how I've always felt. I've just always had an intuitive feeling that I'm honoring my mother best by living for who I am and what I do and what I love.
Cool. In terms of practicality, because it's great being able to put something out there, but in this day and age, we're simultaneously have more opportunities than ever to put something out into the world. But at the same time, it's also the most challenging because uh, all the fast food restaurants, so to speak, of creativity, have twigged on this is a way, and they want their product out there, and you're just getting in the way because you're hurting your bottom line. You know, how have you managed to navigate the world of independent creation and the positives and the challenges that come with it?
I would say don't listen to anything negative. Don't listen to anything that other than what you know is true for yourself and your life and what your talent is and what you know. Because if uniqueness were completely gone in the world, human beings would stop being born. Because the way I see it, with every human being born, there's a new chance to see things, to do things, to have new experiences, maybe change the way things are. You never really know what a person's going to become or what they are, but human potential is limitless and it can do anything.
No, cool. Yeah, but in terms of like the actual mechanics,
Mhm.
getting through, because like I said, we can all make videos, we can all make posts on social media. That doesn't guarantee anybody's ever going to see what you do. It's like the old school. We've almost gone back. The only way you could get seen to the world is either go on TV, get in the newspaper, and that was all locked up. While we have access to it, it's still just as hard. I'm just wondering, how do you try and get your voice heard?
I use every means I can and I use everything available to me, and I do it all the time, whether it's friends, whether it's social media, whether it's other artists I know, whether it's other authors I know. From being part of a podcast like this, to befriending celebrities, to going to cons, to going to shows, no matter how big they are or small they are, to vend if you're an author or if you're a painter or if you're an actor. Don't limit yourself or your thinking into, well, that show's too small, or I've been doing this for like 10 years, so I'm on this level now and I won't go back to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get caught up in that thinking. If a show's small, go to it. If it's big, go to it. If it's several hours away, go to it. If it's a money issue, you can always find ways around it. No matter what issue it is, you can always find ways around it. Don't limit yourself. And everyone has a unique spark and what they can do. Like, for example, it's another vampire example. The movie Let the Right One In.
Oh
I
yes, I wanna actually cover that because that's I haven't read the book yet. I've
Oh,
seen
I
the
haven't either.
original and I've seen the remake. I
Me
want to read
too.
the book because apparently all three are three completely different experiences.
Hmm.
Um, and for once, because I'm not a fan of Chloe Grace Moretz, but she actually did put out a decent performance
Yeah,
in
she did.
the remake. But that's a rare occasion for her.
Huh.
She's put out some stinkers in the world, but yeah, that's a really interesting. God, what wasn't German? Was it Swedish?
Yeah,
The
I
Swedish
can't
one?
remember the author's name, but he was a Swedish person.
Yeah, it was a Swedish author. Yeah, God, sorry, just trying to, like I said, tiny brain, too much
Oh, that's
information to try
fine.
and hold on to. Yeah, I've been meaning to pick up the book, and then I want to do a whole retrospective on all three
That would rock. That'd be really cool.
because definitely the movies, really interesting tone. Like a very, it doesn't romanticize. It does, but it doesn't
Hmm.
romanticize the vampire as a creature.
I
My concerns being, I don't know if you've seen some reviews like Blood Red Sky. They've started to do this. That they've homogenized the vampire, werewolf, and zombie genres into this bland mess that you can't
hmm
tell, is it a vampire, is it a zombie, is it a werewolf, because it's all the bloody same thing. And they're making vampires that don't you know what I mean, they break the basic rules, which, as much as art can be subjective, still the whole point of having the rules is that's for the protagonist to work around and the antagonist to overcome. And stopping them being thinking creatures really bugs me because the vampire is, an apex predator.
hmm Oh, without
And
a doubt.
there's a lot of movies that have this whole need to tear down, destroy, um, reinvent. You know what I mean? Forget the word, but these idiots that they can't leave something alone. They have to deconstruct. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Deconstruct. And this need to deconstruct. They don't actually have a better alternative to build up.
Hmm.
And vampires have definitely suffered for it. That was one of the most 30 Days of Night and Let the Right One In, to me, are the two quintessential vampire movies that show them as monsters,
Oh yeah, I
but
love that too.
thinking monsters.
Hmm.
And that's the frightening thing about a vampire. It's a predator, it's a thinking monster. It's not a dullard, it's not an infected, fast running zombie that goes grrr.
Yeah.
That's fun in its own right. But, there's a reason that the vampire lore, from even before Bram Stoker, I mean, I know he's like credited with the first to novelize it, but still, even the idea of Nosferatu and blood drinkers and all that, there's a reason it's been so long standing and it's built up
Hmm.
like an unshakable lore of its own and following. What do you think of sort of and I blame what do you call her, Stephanie Meyer, for starting this bloody trend.
Oh, with Twilight and whatnot.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, real quick.
Um,
I'm
I
sorry.
think she. I don't know if there was a case before that wasn't done in parody. You know what I mean? Because Nova had Blackula, and Nova had Vampires in the Bronx. And they're meant to be comedies, and what do you call it? Leslie Nielsen, Once
Hmm.
Bitten, or was that no? That was what's his face?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Yeah, that was his first movie, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, that was his first movie.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the one with Leslie
Speaking
Nielsen as well. You know what I mean? When something's meant to be parody, that's fine. But I think we can blame Stephanie Meyer for the first of the deconstruction, or trying to thinking, is there a danger? Maybe I'll try and get to a point and a question you can answer. But is there a danger being an artist? Because you've said that there's always a new experience, there's always a new way. But is there a danger of your own hubris becoming a destructive force rather than a creative one? And what we've seen,
um,
and how do you manage that?
real quick, I wanted to say with Let the Right One In, I'd never seen any vampire story, tackle what would happen if a vampire comes in when it's uninvited, and they did it. And that's what stood out to me. One of the things the most about that movie, and it was handled really cool,
Oh
I
yes.
think. But with the question you just asked, I think there's a need, and I think there's a natural means to remain humble as an artist, because, and I'm sure this changes from artist to artist, but for me, being an artist is about helping other people, connecting with as many people as you can, and healing with your voice and uniting with your words, bringing people together, entertaining people. Like, if you love it, they'll love it. And that's the point. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about revenge. It's not about I'm above you because I'm doing this and you're not. It's not about any of that. It's about for the love of what you're doing, and more so the love of fans. If you, whether you have 2 or 10 or 20,000, all your fans really build you up, and all of your fans are a big reason why you're where you are. I mean, your own natural talent and your drive and who you are, that's a big reason why you're where you are too. But your
It draws
fans,
people in, but how do
mhm.
you get them to stay?
um, again, with the your love for it. Like I've been saying, if you love it, they will. Some people need to renew that love. Some people find the love and it lasts for so long, and then they have to find a way to give it new life again. Other people, I feel like myself, the love for it, the drive for it, the soul of it comes from within. It was an inborn thing. It's like when I was telling you about Edgar Allan Poe that started me off.
Hmm.
I saw very clearly that words on a page in a story are more than just a black and white word on a page and a sentence. They're living things that have a soul and a life and a will, just like we do. And they want to live, and they want to reach out, and they have an appetite, and they want to express. And that is an ongoing, ever renewing thing. It's like it lives under its own power and just wants to keep going.
There's been especially Edgar Allan Poe, especially from your neck of the woods, your country. There's been this jealousy, and once it came part of this whole deconstruction to tear him down. He's a product of his time. But they want to judge him by 2022, the 2022 cult, and they want his work erased. It's like 1930s book burning that's going on at the moment. Very strange times, but have you noticed that, like, it seems to be this group that have got into, like, the creative space, and they're not artists. They're the they're burger flip. There's equivalent to flipping burgers, which is nothing wrong with, but there's a difference between flipping a burger and following a process 1 to 10 and
Hmm.
doing it on a repeat, and being a restaurateur or a chef,
Hmm.
or there's a difference between painting a wall as a hobby and actually doing it as a professional. Like a professional, I'm not even talking about creating canvases. I'm talking about a painter and decorator. A
Hmm.
professional painter and decorator has a different mindset opposed to somebody like me. I just need to get this painted.
Hmm.
There's difference and efficiency and desire to get it done right, because obviously that drives business. But in the creative space, there seems to be this group, and the only way they think they can succeed is by tearing everything else down around them,
Mm.
which is why art is hurting at the moment. I see it starting to creep into the horror genre, but thankfully it's not a thing. Like just before we went online, I was talking about the new Hellraiser movies about to come out
Hmm.
next month. People are trying to manufacture an argument about, oh, they don't like the actress, blah blah blah. They hate, it's hate, but they're not showing receipts. There's no screenshots, because in cancel culture, that if somebody actually did make it an attack, they'd be gone. They'd be plastered all over the place. They'd be screenshotted. But you've got other creators like, oh, we must tear this down because people aren't going to go to my work. They're automatically going to go to that. You know, and that franchise has been through the mill. Let's be honest. That's been the others are rubbed raw and that pair of thing. So we can only hope for the best next month. I hope, really, really hope it's good. But there's this more desire about conflict than creation going on at the moment. How do we push through that and get people to steer away and not get involved in that kind of nonsense because it doesn't help anybody.
No, it doesn't. I think people that feel that way or think that way, I think they're looking for something new. They're thirsting for something more. They're thirsting for something different. They're not impressed by, like you said, the burger flipping, because to them, for their taste, they've seen too much of it. They want something different, and they're waiting for it, but they're becoming impatient because it's almost kind of like feeling up against the wall with, I don't want to say the apathy of it, but for lack of a better word, probably the apathy of it.
Oh, no, that's actually a very good word because I think we've gone past, because it's been going on for about 10 years now.
Hmm.
People have gone past anger, hurt, resentment. We are in the stage of apathy. I know I've felt it where I don't want to, for a while there, didn't want to experience movies. I've actually had to force myself because I'm just like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. If I watch this movie and don't like it, that puts me in one team and then fights the other. If I like it, that puts me in this team and it means I have to fight the other, and I can't be bothered.
Hmm.
When going to something and just enjoying it for the sake of it, or I don't want to be preached to. I,
Oh
I'm the
yeah.
worst person. Don't preach to me because I'm instantly. You start preaching to me. It doesn't matter what your point is, valid or not. You come at me and like, guess what? I'm not playing because I'm a stubborn shite.
You're just gonna
That's
tune it right
my
out.
yep. That's once you start, all I hear is blah 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 blah. Ooh,
Hmm.
gone. You're whatever it is you're doing, but I don't know. It's back to what I'm saying. It's keeping that check and balance, isn't it?
Yeah, you brought up a real great
How do you
point.
maintain that? How do you keep that check and balance with yourself? How do you know you're going too far?
You talked about resting and taking a break. I think that's a really good way to gain new perspective and to refresh and recharge your battery. If you feel that things have become too much of a rut, take a break from it. Don't do it for a while. Go do something completely unrelated, or just go do something fun and frivolous. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to have value. Just go do something for the sake of doing it, or maybe try something you never have before, like go out in nature or go lay on a hydro bed or something for like a day or two for a couple of weeks, and then come back to the movie thing, or then come back to the art thing, or come back to the branch of art that you like, because it's no different than tending a garden or taking care of trees or plants. You have to prune them every once in a while. You have to renew things, because if you don't, the old is just going to grow, and it's going to hurt the source, and it's going to hurt everything it is. So you've got to prune stuff to keep it fresh. You got to find ways to recharge, and as long as people can do that, and there's all kinds of ways and means to recharge and refresh and rest,
Mm-hmm.
keep doing that, and that'll keep things fresh and in perspective, I think.
All right, cool. Because it's so easy. I think, especially if you do anything like this, you can
Hmm.
get wrapped up in it because you don't do like you said for the love. If you don't do something with love or you're not invested in it, you may as well not bother.
Exactly, I agree.
You don't put the hours into creating something, and it
Hmm.
doesn't matter what format it takes, be it writing, painting, creating content, videos.
Oh yeah.
You have to love what you're doing because that is a significant
Yes.
amount of time you're spending. And the minute you put yourself out there, the minute you put yourself out in the world, you're going to deal with criticism. You're going to deal with somebody who just the fact that you're doing something is enough to set them off,
Hmm.
and they want to destroy you. That's why I'm talking about the whole deconstruction, because it seems to be this is being amplified at the moment. And just by you trying to create something, find your own path, there's those out there that see that and instantly believe you should be destroyed.
Hmm.
Um, you've probably seen me talk about it, but a few idiots have popped up with this podcast, and I just laugh at it. It's absolutely hilarious.
Oh
But
yeah.
have you experienced that yourself? Just in your journey through creation, have you experienced that just madness? Because it is insanity. Because if you
Oh
don't like
yeah.
something, you just don't watch it, you don't partake, you don't bring it into your life. If for somebody you can't stand, well, I've always talked about this concept of hate watching is just bonkers to me.
Yeah.
It's just complete other level of insanity. But have you experienced that?
Oh yeah. I think experiencing it in ways that are completely unrelated to what you're doing and what you love are completely and entirely valuable, absolutely valuable. Like, for example, when we all grow up as children, we go through bullying, or we have experiences that we don't want and we don't like, and we have to deal with them. There's just no way around it. Everybody goes through that. And how you deal with that and how that changes you and how you grow stronger from that, I think that's very crucial and important to what you do with what you love. And I think those unrelated experiences can really strengthen you and build you up and build a good support system within your mind and your body and your heart and your emotions for how to deal with stuff if it happens with what you love, because you've dealt with all this other thing prior unrelated to what you're doing. But you can take the tools from that, you can take what you learned from that experience and apply it to what you love. And when it happens with what you love, you're all the more easily able and all the more apt to be like, yeah, screw you, no big deal. It doesn't bother you, it's not going to have any meaning for you. You don't have to let it affect you if you don't want to. Because a real good thing to always realize is no matter what, you always have the choice, you always have free will. And it's never bad to get negativity out of your life. You don't have to feel guilty for it. You don't have to feel remorse for it, especially if it's people or a situation that is doing nothing but trying to hurt you. Get it the hell out of your life. It's like taking out the trash. You don't need it. Just take it out and keep going with what you do.
Do you think some people they maybe feel obligated to try and explain their point or bring the other person on side? Is that a natural human instinct? Is that why they
I
hang on?
I think it
Or
is
they
to a
have these
point.
debates that, there's 10, 20 minutes could be better spent, being creative or something else? Or is that necessary? Is it necessary to at least make the attempt? Or are you better just going, nah, done?
I think most of the time you're better off just flushing it and saying nope, done. But I think a lot of people can be given to that because it's innate in human beings to want attention or approval, and we can learn ways to get this attention or approval or seek it in negative or positive ways. And if you're doing it in a negative way, it's pretty obvious. It's very obvious if someone's doing it to you and you get this heavy feeling, this prickly feeling inside that you don't like. So that's definitely your intuition telling you, hey, that's not right. I need to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're experiencing someone that has these negative attention seeking ways, or you recognize it in yourself, you can get rid of it, you can let go of it and adopt positive ones. So you don't have to over explain yourself. You don't have to take 15 minutes or a half hour saying something to someone that you know you're never going to reach, you're never going to get through because they're hard-nosed negative. Just chalk it up to experience and move on. Don't waste your time or your life because you're just going to run yourself down and run your energy down. And more oftentimes than not, that's all they want anyway. So you're
Mm-hmm.
better off not dealing with it.
Yeah, because as you're well aware, you've been with this podcast for a while. One thing we want people to do is not to stop. My
Yes.
my theory's always been, and the driving force behind this is we need more creators, not less.
Mm-hmm.
And then things will sort it out. The cream will rise to the top, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
naturally. But there's so many people are afraid to start because of the intimidation. That's why I focus on the social media side with these and get people's takes on it, not just mine. People know who I am. I'm a gobshite. I don't care. I'll laugh at you and I'll screenshot you and make fun of you just for my own amusement because that's the way I deal with things. But there's people that will maybe not pick up a paintbrush or not pick up a pen because they're terrified. They've seen what's happened to other folks and they've
Mm-hmm.
seen just the vitriol, which it could be a horror in itself, but it's not horror. This is something I think horror is an embracing of life by feeling the
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortableness and by getting frightened, and it's actually a celebration of life, which is completely
Oh yeah.
antithesis to what's displayed, which I think what makes and I hate to use the word community, but those of us that are in this space, and there's
Mm-hmm.
all sorts, you've got your generic, horror fan who's always posting their pictures of themselves on social media, but they're like the bottom feeders of my mistake. Look at all the shiny stuff I have, and that's all they've got to say. I'm wearing dark and spooky stuff, and that's all they have to say for themselves, and that's fine, you know. But it's usually from that group are the ones that are like, the minute somebody's doing something that they maybe wish they could do, and they're maybe taking that first step, and that's when they try to get someone. I think
It
is
can
somebody
happen
maybe
that
just
way.
starting out, and what I want to do through these interviews is pre-warn. Yeah, it's going to happen, but guess what? If you just still stick at it, come and talk. Find people in the right space that don't get on like that. I don't think any of us ever conflate like deconstruction with constructive criticism. They're two completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
But constructive criticism takes trust and finding the right people. So don't throw yourself out there to the mat, because there's those people. You're basically dripping blood in the water
Yeah.
for the
Oh yeah.
sharks. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
And sharks are the most petable, cutest animals on the planet, most misunderstood. But you get a feeding frenzy. Same as alligators. I love alligators.
Mm-hmm.
All those things. Why I could never work in wildlife is I'd be too complacent. I want to go pet the spiky thing with more teeth and arms and legs than me, with the
Oh yeah.
terminal parts.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
that's why I would die. Um,
Yeah, probably me too.
I'm the one that's going to go and try and pet the bear or the
Mm-hmm.
bison. You know what I mean? I'm not idiot, and I know that. I want to give the vampire a hug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am actually that stupid.
Mm-hmm. My whole life, I've wanted to see a Sasquatch. I still would love to see the damn thing just once. I want to see it before I die. And I want to be close to one, close enough to apparently smell how bad it stinks like a skunk. I don't care.
Mhm.
I just want to see it, but I hope it's not in a bad mood, given the size and dimensions of the reports of these things. If it's upset, you're gonna die. It's a Sasquatch. You're not gonna fight that thing off hand to hand. There's no way.
It's actually funny, especially do you think science is destroying magic, the magic of the world, the wonder? It's like over this side of the pond, people still search for the Loch Ness monster,
Mhm.
and they've had submersibles, they've had sonar, and it's actually coming about that there is something down there, because that's the like one of the deepest channels in the world, Loch Ness.
Mhm.
You know, it's actually one of the deepest freshwater lakes in the world, which is funny for our tiny little rock in the planet, like blip and you miss it sort of thing. But they're actually realizing that there's possibly something from a prehistoric era or afterwards. It's
Yeah,
still down there, and that's actually. I hope they never find it. Like to me, you want to find it. I hope they never do,
that'd be scary.
because not even scary, but I don't want to lose magic in the world.
I see what you're saying.
And I'm worried that today's rational thought, and that's why I'm talking about deconstruction as well, is the rational scientific mind and technology and our reliance on must see the thing to be the thing, must everything must be categorized and stamped, as a lab experiment. Is that hurting art and the wonder? Like, where are people finding that from now? Because um you can't even wonder about other lands or continents, because you just click on this thing and you can be taking satellite images, or somebody's posting a video and you can actually be there and all without actually traveling. So that whole wonder of, what are those people like, or what's that place like, or are we in danger of losing that, and how do we keep it?
I think science enhances magic greatly. The My first example for that is Mary Shelley with Frankenstein. She merged the fascination with the new sciences and the occult of the time and created that amazingly, unbelievably awesome damn story. I love Frankenstein so much, and Mary Shelley for it. And she was 18, which I'm sure you know,
Mm-hmm.
when she wrote that. She was a teenage girl when she wrote that. Just brilliant, damn brilliant. But science puts us closer in touch with the things that we might not be able to see on our own. Not just with TV or radio, but with modern social media. The all these travel shows we have, and the paranormal hunting shows and the ghost shows. We sit in our living rooms or over to friends' houses and watch on our laptops, and we're in one state and this is maybe in another country, and we're so up close to it, and it's so detailed, it's almost like we're there, and we
Mm-hmm.
get that experience of being there, and we still can have that excitement from the camera view and the perceptions of the people shooting it, like we're actually along with them. We can hear it, we can feel it. We can feel it against our bodies. We can smell it. We can see it in our imaginations. It brings a new soul and a new life to it. Another example is Frank Herbert with Dune, and Asimov with I, Robot. Dune showed us other planets.
Mhm.
Dune showed us how we could not only reach human potential, but go beyond it, and took a normal thing like a desert and created such a majestic whimsy and imagination about it. And with the sandworms, using a simple thing like a worm to tie in the power and symbolism, the enchantment of the universe in one thing. And that one thing, again, raised the consciousness and awareness and capability of a human being. And Asimov with I, Robot showed us what it was like to be a robot, a synthetic thing with no life, seemingly no life and no imagination, other than servos and circuits and that. It's not human, but at the
I
same
actually like
time,
the Ard. No, not many people talk about the Ardenil series by Asimov.
I've heard of that, but
The
never read it.
detective. God, I can never remember his bloody name. I used to have the books, but all got destroyed in the move. But
Oh no.
uh, the whole detective series with Ardenil, robots were given the designation R because iRobot was like a standalone movie, but his whole world, even the relationship between Earth and the outer planets,
Mm-hmm.
because the outer planets look down on Earthers,
Mm-hmm.
and that whole thing of we have evolved beyond you, sniff. No, you're not going to Venus. Go away, peasant. Really interesting world, and then the robots brought in that, and then like murder mysteries. Can a robot kill another robot? Is it a murder? Um, he did some really deep stuff.
Mm-hmm. You have
June,
the
but Heretics of June, always fear the worm.
mm-hmm.
Duke Leto the second, when he actually merges with the sandworm.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard about that.
oh yeah, June is only the beginning because Children of June sort of sets you up, and then you've got God Emperor, Heretics of June, uh, the whole thing of actually embodying, humanizing the worm.
Mm-hmm.
Because he merges, and then it's the worm actually given human thought and psychic ability becomes the most terrifying thing. Still, even beyond anything else, that the space then becomes it's a gamble whether you're going to survive
Yeah.
trading for the space.
Uh-huh.
That actually becomes like pure horror at one point.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
love how they describe the Bene Gesserit in the weirding way. That is awesome.
I believe that gets ramped up to 11 with the Golden Path and the Fish Speakers. I mean, that whole series just takes you somewhere else. But it actually goes into, like I said, with Duke Leto the second, Paul Modeeb's son.
Mm-hmm.
He actually takes it, down a really dark path, and it becomes frightening. It's you should definitely check out the whole series. And
Okay.
Stephen Herbert wasn't his son.
I think so.
It was Stephen. He went into detail about the Butlerian Jihad and that whole, because even then, thinking machines have become
Mm-hmm.
a terror on the universe.
Yeah.
Once again, it's only touched in the actual story of Dune itself. It's only touched briefly,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. But when you actually go into the other lore, for the humanity to get where it was at that point, what they went through, it's pretty horrendous. And then,
Oh yeah.
yeah, really good story. Yeah, but that's you can get immersed, going deep as you want. There are different ways to sort of get stimulated. I just hope people in this sort of mindset people have now of right and wrong, or a story must serve a purpose to preach something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're kind of missing the point, and I'm worried. And that's why I kind of ask these questions. Is I'm worried that we're going to lose that if we're not vigilant. We're going to lose our wonder. We're going to lose that spark that took us from just hitting each other over the head with rocks to actually
Mm-hmm.
building for ourselves and giving ourselves breathing space apart from survival.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like we'll talk about the first caveman. By learning to enhance the use of fire and by actually seeking shelter, they weren't just grubbing in the elements and eating and shivering together. They actually had breathing space to raise their young, and then cave paintings, you know what I mean? They would not have happened unless humanity was inspired by something.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll never know what. Was it a lightning strike that set something on fire and it went from frightening to, oh, this is useful? We'll never find out what that spark was. But if we extinguish that spark, we're going to lose ourselves as humans.
I don't think that spark can ever be extinguished because we're always going to have artists. We're always going to have that spirit that is innate in being a human being that wonders what's out there, that wonders, that has a sense of this feeling that there's something so much bigger and greater than us. And we not only want to see it, we want to smell it and taste it and grasp it and see what we can do with it. Like the ghost in the shell with Asimov. There's always that human spark, and if it's not there, it can develop on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a wildness and a freedom to it that's untamed and can't be controlled. And a lot of the people that are the naysayers, the doubters, the ones that don't have faith or that have surrendered their soul willfully to something they never should have, those aren't the moral majority. They may act like they are, they may think they are, a spirit that was never meant for them may tell them that they are, but they're not. There's always soul, there's always soulfulness, there's always human imagination, there's always human ingenuity. And if you take that soul of human imagination and wonder, you merge it with ingenuity and intuition, it's endless.
Mm-hmm.
The means, the capability, the long-lasting potential of it is just entirely limitless. And I don't know if we'll ever reach the limit of that. I don't know if it's designed to ever have a limit. Honestly, personally, I don't think it is designed to ever have a limit, because the day that we reach that limit, I think, is the day that the human race won't be here anymore.
Yep. Actually, Arthur C. Clarke, if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
2001 Space Odyssey, the 4 books in that series. The whole point of the monolith was, it was a Dave. No, was it Dave? In the first one. It was Dave. Dave was the first, you know what I mean? They took Dave and he had to actually be evolved beyond his own lifespan to go to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was the whole point. And then there's the 3 books, you know, all worlds are yours except Europa. Do not land there. And of course, humans being humans, we're going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's something, we're told not to do something, got to go do it. Poke, poke, poke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a fascinating tale told through a sci-fi. Well, there was a horror element to it. Let's be honest. Like 2001, the horror element was HAL, and it was a question of AI. You know, is AI? You know, and even back to the first question that you mentioned, Mary Shelley, or the first iterants of sci-fi. Are there things humans should meddle in? You know, and that's always the question of horror. But at the same time, by showing the words of caution, not words of don't do it, I've always seen, because of Mary Shelley, that's why we have artificial limbs, transplants. You know, those ideas would not have come.
Exactly.
What was that old movie where, you know, they talk about your limbs could be possessed? It was the arm or the hand or something. Do you remember that one?
That sounds familiar.
The guy basically gets the arm of a serial killer. You know, he has to get a donation. And then because I know the story's been told, but I remember the first ones in the 70s that did this, and
there was a movie, Idle Hands,
because he had like possessed that. It was basically deemed that you know, the spirit of the serial killer possessed the arm, and then he was going to sleep. Then the serial killer was waking up and taking, oh, I've got a new body.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But to me, telling through a horror tale and a word of caution and making people frightened, you talk about it brilliantly. The excitement that happens after being scared, that, ooh, you know, when the thing jumps out and you jump for a second, then you're laughing immediately afterwards. But that sets something in gear.
Mm-hmm.
Without imagination, you know what I mean? We're limiting ourselves to where we go. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
want to speak out against those that want to crush others. You don't have to like everything everybody does.
Oh no.
Something could be good, bad. Art is subjective. Something can have flaws, especially if somebody's first go.
Oh yeah.
You're never, if everyone got a perfect first time. Yeah, there's Dale saying she laughs when you're scared too. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll have that jump. We'll have that frightening, but immediately it's followed because the endorphins, because we're built up with adrenaline for the fight or flight, and
Yeah.
then when we realize it's not going to happen, then the endorphins release, and we just it's a joyous experience. Like I said, that's why thrill seekers, that's why the adrenaline junkies go. Uh, it's all part of the human condition, not pushing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is why I speak out against this sanitized, safe, boring lifestyle that a certain element are trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd maybe push themselves out of their comfort zones a bit, they'd be surprised what they'd be able to do.
Oh yeah.
But as a creator, you're going to experience this, which is why we're bringing it up time and time again, because everyone experiences it. It doesn't matter. The minute you put yourself out in the world, you're like a beacon. You know what I mean? Creativity's a beacon
Mm-hmm.
that'll either draw or repulse. But there's some people just, because they've never pushed themselves in their lives, they don't know what it means to live, so therefore they don't want others to because it reminds them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So you have different forms. You've mentioned your painting. Do you put your painting out for others, or is that a personal thing?
Oh no, I don't paint. That was my mother. I tried
All
to
right.
paint and it didn't go well. I draw. I haven't drawn in a while, but I'm getting back to it. But drawing, I'm pretty decent at. But no, painting, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry. Just when you talk
No,
about
it's
the
okay.
insets, that I was just wondering, but I can't draw to save my life. Honestly, I embarrass myself with even stickman, just drawing stickman.
Oh
It's like, oh
no.
god, what are you doing? But sometimes it's fun to do, just for yourself, just to
Yeah.
give it a
Oh
go.
yeah.
Doesn't mean you create something to have to share with the world. So do you with your drawings then? Are they just for
Um,
you, or is that another way of trying to get out there?
no, the drawing thing, it's more of a fun thing, of a relaxation thing. It's another carryover from my mother, a way to honor her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wanted to say two things actually with like with the movies and pushing down your bounds and finding new territory and ground. Like kind of going back to sci-fi, like the movie Event Horizon. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah. I just got the 25th anniversary box set.
Love that
I did
movie.
an unboxing video. Was that about 2 weeks ago? A couple of weeks ago there. Did an unboxing
Hmm.
video. Oh my god. And I watched all the interviews and that. The director and the amount of love and work that went into that movie. That was
Yeah.
pure. It was pure joy to watch and pure joy to actually listen to the creative process.
Hmm. And Sam Neill is always amazing. But what I wanted to say about it is you look at the movie and like say you look at the movie box and you think, okay, this movie is Exorcist in space, and you watch it like, oh my god, this is Hellraiser in space. It's like, holy hell.
Yeah. It's something that it became its own thing. It could have been a trite run of the mill. Now the first 5 seconds of that CGI takes me out of it. You know about the watch floating. They never quite tied that up, even in the updated version.
Yeah.
That's the only bit that makes you go, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, apart from that, 5 seconds, just blink, and that watch floating through the abandoned space station. Ignore that, but the rest of this movie is bloody fantastic in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
the sets they built, the wire work they had to do. There's a lot of wire work in this where
Mm-hmm.
you see now, and that's when I'm talking about the fast food chain of movies, like the superheroes genre. I cannot stand.
Mm.
Anyway, I tuned out a lot. I was a comic book fan, but these movies are just so bland, predictable, boring, and they all run at each other through a green screen. And it's like
Oh, I love a lot of them actually. I
Well, like I said, it's up. You know what I mean?
mm,
You can or you can't. But I just think when I see how Event Horizon was created and the amount of work, the model building, and just to make this right. When I see the Witch, and for an indie project,
hmm
Eggers, that they actually went and picked flowers off the trees because it was coming in the spring when they filmed, and they're actually picking the buds because they wanted to look bleak. And the whole crew and the actors went out and did this before
hmm
they shot a scene. So they all went out as a team and picked the buds of the trees. Um, when the training they were doing for Event Horizon, like you're saying, just to get the scenes right.
hmm
Um, you see the love of creation in it, and you join in. You want to then support that person's project. Adam, isn't it? I forget the director of Event Horizon. Adam something. Is it
Oh,
Anderson?
I can't remember. I've never been good so much with
I'm terrible with names unless
remembering directors and producers.
I
But
forget.
Sam Neill is unbelievable as a horror actor. He's
Mhm.
amazing.
He's from Northern Ireland originally. It was from my neck of the woods.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's born in Northern Ireland. Then the family moved to New Zealand.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's funny because I laugh because he was the only actor who was able to get a Northern Irish accent right in
hmm
that daft series, but Peaky Blinders. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, somebody actually got it right.
Oh wow.
It's because he was brought up.
Oh okay.
Yeah, he's from New Zealand, but he was actually born in Northern Ireland, and his family moved out there. He's he's one of ours too. Yeah.
Hi Dell, nice to see you.
Sorry, Dell. You're from Dell's one of our longest contributors, and absolutely amazing. We've had her on as well. We're talking about movies and chatting.
Awesome.
It's always good to get a bit of banter going. Do you know what I mean? That's what makes this. That's what's good about this. We just get have a bit of a laugh, banter,
Yeah.
you know, and just highlight you can create in a positive space. It is
Oh
perfectly
yeah.
possible, and it's allowed.
hmm
You're allowed to actually have a go, and you're allowed to create.
Oh
And
yeah.
while not everybody might like your work, and you may not become a superstar because that's only like the tip of the ice. You know what I mean? That's the tip of the iceberg. The sort of apex,
hmm
of the multimillionaire author, drawers, writers, movie makers. That's fine. That's always the way of the world. But you can still have a fulfilled life. You can still
Oh
fulfill yourself
yeah.
by creating,
But
and you can.
if you do get fame and fortune, use it well.
Mhm. Where we've seen so many people crash and burn, the forget themselves.
hmm
Although it's uh, although it's a different genre, fantasy game. George R. R. Martin to me it's a perfect example of someone's hubris, turning themselves down.
Oh wow. I don't know a whole lot about him.
Well,
I've heard
he
stuff here
hasn't
and there.
finished his books. He's taken on every project he can think of, not to finish his books,
Hmm.
and he's calling people names, and
Oh no, that's
the
not good.
people have put him where he was.
hmm
Um, God, I think a mistake's getting into TV. TV seems to be the death. Um, avoid TV. Honestly,
Huh.
that's what the streaming services are making a mistake. They're going the TV route, which people went to streaming to get away from TV. Now TV's come over to streaming, and people are like, do you know what?
Huh.
Stuff you. But yeah, he's somebody fans like he's been going around since the early 90s. I think 92 his first book come out,
Oh wow.
and people have sustained him until and all they're asking is when's a new book coming out, and he's been so horrendous that he thinks he's
Oh,
above it.
that's not good.
And that's how you destroy your legacy because I can't I have no interest for Winds of Winter or Dream of Spring supposed to come out. I don't care if they come out or not now.
hmm
Um, you saw his arrogance. When you see somebody in their absolute arrogance of I'm too big now to entertain you, you
Yeah,
peasant, how dare you question me? Well, mate, my money helped you put me on. I'm a paying customer. This attitude towards the paying customer is just nuts.
yeah. You got to be good to people. And I mean, whether you're an artist or in the public eye, no matter what you're doing, if you're from whether you're working retail or you're a host or waiter in a restaurant or you're a professional actor, you've got to be good to the public. You've got to be good to especially to the people that love you. because the minute you start not doing that, it's gonna go south. You can't be that way. You got to be
Yeah,
decent.
and don't conflate kindness with weakness.
Yeah. Oh no.
Because
No.
trust me, if you come at me, I'm coming back at you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to push over. If somebody comes at me directly, well, guess what? They're not in for a good time. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to go around. Like I said, if you don't like something, you don't like it. That's fine. You're allowed.
Yeah. Like you said, not everybody's gonna like everything. It's not a big deal.
I've had discussions with my friends over,
Hmm.
and that seems to have disappeared as well. Just having discussions of, oh, I like this movie. Well, I didn't like it because of this reason. Oh, well, I liked it because of this reason. And that's a discussion where you didn't like this. You're a terrible bad person. We did like it, so you're one of them. And that is so exhausting and removes discussion. And I don't like debate. Debate means somebody has to win. And I don't like that idea
Generally.
of debate of, I'm here to beat you, to make my opinion superior. I don't like that
Yeah,
sort
it
of.
shouldn't be like that. A debate should be an exchange of ideas, a
Well,
decent
debate
exchange
isn't.
of
Debate's about
ideas.
winning. Discourse, on the other hand, is completely different.
True,
And
debate is more of
discussion,
a competition thing, but yeah.
debate is purely competitive. That's
Hmm.
why you join debating teams. That's why you go to debating competitions.
Yeah, I was just thinking that like debate teams in high school.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't really have that over here, but
Oh no.
I don't know.
Hmm.
It's more sports, and our whole system's different, anyway. But
Yeah, I know a little bit about it, but not too much.
yeah, that's the thing. Although we sort of speak the same language, not we are different.
Hmm.
That's to be celebrated, not
Yeah, it is.
and that's the
Also
beauty of
true.
this. I've spoken to people all over the world, and just sitting here, man, it's great, fantastic. You get different perspectives and outlooks. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm worried that we're losing the ability to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't agree with you. What I mean, this whole must be lockstep with 100% all the time on everything.
Hmm.
That's how ideas don't get shared. That's how
Yeah.
people don't step outside their comfort zone. That's how people don't, oh, I have something new I want to try. And that's what that fear is. And that's what I'm trying to do here is, don't be afraid.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And that is to me one of the most important and essential things, whether it's art or music or athletics or history, exploring, no matter what it is. Don't be afraid. Like to use a model, it's a comic reference, but Daredevil, the man without fear.
Mm-hmm.
If you live for being afraid, you're going to hold yourself back. You're going to not do the things you love to do, and you're not going to be fulfilled in your life 100%. And you need to be fulfilled in your life 100%. Everybody's got the right to do that.
Yeah, and there's no one path. And that's why discussing, which is want to ask about your methods to get yourself out, how you navigate. How do you get your work out there so people can see it? What methods do you use? Because there's also this thing, especially in the independent author genre, or you must do it this way, you must get approved by these people,
Oh
or
no.
else you're not an author, you are an author. It's horrible. What have you done with your work? So I know you obviously you took part in this podcast, which is fantastic.
Oh, I
Uh,
thank you so much
but
for
what
having
else
me
have you
here, Colin.
what else have you done?
Um, like I said, I've done I believe in doing anything and everything that you can, no matter how big or how small. I've been on um my friend Brian K. Morris is a celebrated author, professional author, and he has several shows, and I've been on one of his shows, and Aaron Chapman with Morbid Planet, um, and you, of course, with Horrific Podcast. No matter what it is, do it. No
Any
matter how.
physical media?
I'm sorry.
Any physical media?
Yeah, I go to. There's
No, if
a
you put your work in the any physical media, hint hint.
Oh yeah,
Show the
sorry.
magazine. Show the magazine.
There's a
Dropping a hint.
the magazine, Blood Moon Chronicles, and let
I'm
me
trying
open
to
it up.
feed you the
I
line here to
I
get
can
you
be
to
kind of
bite.
thick sometimes, Colin. Sorry about that. The shoot, let me find it. Um,
Brilliant.
bear with me here. Sorry.
Sorry, we had
Um,
this conversation before we went online because Okay, now let's drop it
This is
in.
the Is That My Amber story,
Hmm.
and the person who did this magazine is Victoria Osborne, and she has wonderful instincts for photography and placing and how to do the story. And it's a little simple vampire story that I wrote, but these are the illustrations that she chose for it, and I just think she did a wonderful job with it. Um, I also have in here an article that I did with Barbie Wild of
Hmm.
Hellraiser 2, and is if it's okay if I show that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here to do. I'm trying to get you to plug yourself.
Okay, okay. I just always like to ask. This is my article that I did with Barbie Wild, and Barbie is incredible. She's funny as hell. She's amazing. She's a very down to earth person. I'll show you a little more of
The
it.
new
That's the rest of it.
Jimmy Clayton, she's almost a morphin of Doug Bradley and you know what I mean, the sort of pinhead and the female Cenobite. Have you seen the new stills?
Yeah, I have. There's actually.
There's like a melding of those two characters, and
Hmm.
she's actually got the lament configuration embedded in her throat.
Yeah,
And if you've seen this, you don't get it as much from the front shot, but when you see the side shot, you're like, "Holy crap!" It's actually in there, and you're like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very different too from because anybody, of course, who's seen the movies and read the book The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, which
mhm.
Hellbound Heart is an amazing book. The
It's going
Cenobites,
around. I was trying to get another print copy, and it's freaking going around for like $20 up
yeah,
at the moment. It's ridiculous price.
oh yeah,
We covered the Scarlet Gospels not so long ago there, and I just find it interesting.
hmm
Obviously, this series it's been having trouble trying to get into production for about 2 years.
hmm
Clive Barker finally got the rights back,
yeah, I
um,
heard that.
but in the Scarlet Gospels, he effectively retired the character of Pinhead. He actually
Hmm
hates the nickname. He makes it that the character hates the nickname.
hmm
Uh, so it'll be interesting to see. This isn't a reboot. Apparently, it's not a remake. It's a separate universe. With the Cenobites. It'd be interesting to see what he does with the character that he's involved because he effectively, I think he got that burnt out. And
Yeah,
flipping Hellraisers 9 and 10, those two actors, like Fat Pinhead,
hmm
that was absolutely horrendous. Just no offense to the actor, but oh my god, it wasn't even remotely looked. It looked like a cosplay, like a cosplay I'd try and do with my big fat. But it just wouldn't. I wouldn't play Pinhead because I just don't have the facial structure to pull it off.
the effects, the makeup effects are just grueling. All those hours in a chair.
That's I'm back to the horror fan, like the basic one. Like I said, you've got your basic um how'd you put it? Not typical, but stereotyped horror fan
Hmm
who, oh, I dress in black and I'm spooky. Woo is me. Those they're vapid and empty. But they're the ones that are going, well, it's the same happened with Nightmare on Elm Street. Well,
hmm
if it's not Robert Englund, I don't care. And you try to have a discussion with these people, I don't care, no, it has to be. They're even saying that Robert Englund, who's hitting 70, should sit in the makeup chair for 6 hours just to play. It's like the old prize fighter. They keep trying to bring them back on until they're completely broken and burnt out and used up.
hmm
Like these people don't have any compassion or humanity. That's why it's really intriguing with almost every horror creator I've come across that has like a deep compassion for humanity. It's really antithesis to the actual material. Like we explore the darkest deprivations and depths that you can
hmm
go to, and always looking for that thrill of taking it even more. Yet there's a strange other side of the mirror, compassion for humanity, and these sort of people. That's what I said about the manufacturer article because people are only saying, "Oh, if it's not Doug Bradley, I don't want to watch it." They're not making any statements about who's taking over. Just anybody isn't good enough, and Doug Bradley's in the 60s now.
hmm
Like, is it fair to demand that someone, just because they've played a character, keep going and not be allowed to retire until basically they die.
Oh no.
That's almost a horror movie in itself. Like
Yeah.
the fan, the deranged fan who isn't gonna be happy until they kill the artist creating their thing. It's have you seen that? I try to avoid social media personally. I try not to get into like these debates and fan sites or even read them, because I know the minute you read the comments, it's like, it's going to give me a headache, and I'm going to have to lie in a dark room for 3 days. But what's your reaction to those sort of people and how they get on?
I don't really have any time or use for like online drama. It can be fun to talk and share ideas, but the second you start using it as a weapon against other people or trying to alienate people with it, that's not, you're not doing it for the love of doing it anymore. That's childish and that's silly. And I understand that horror and stories and movies are very, very important to people and very vital to people. But you should never turn it into a weapon against someone. You don't use it to hurt other people. You don't use it to divide people. It's meant to entertain, to excite, and enjoy, and spread the love of it. And that should be what it's about. But unfortunately, not everybody's like that. But I think when you find drama like that, just like we were saying before, just get rid of the negative or don't participate in it, because you don't have to participate in it. Just because there's something negative online, just because it's online, you don't have to participate in it if you don't want to. You can simply move on, and there's no harm, there's no foul, even though people may try and put on you that there's harm and foul because you didn't participate in the drama. Ooh. But no, there really isn't. It never should be about that. Like I said, it's not a weapon.
Yeah, and I think that's you sort of wonder why people do they just like the shiny things when they look at a franchise and don't get the thought behind it, or like I said, I don't know. I never understand that mindset. That's why I want to have the discussion to try and maybe deep dive or get a different perspective. Maybe one day I will, but to me, it's just I can't picture spending every waking minute of my life looking for something to hate.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of people in the real world that I can quite happily hate who
Yeah.
have directly affected me, and that's fine. I don't, but I'm not going to sit here and obsess over them either. So if I'm not going to obsess over real people who've done me harm in my life, why am I going to obsess over those, or a franchise? Like I mentioned, I dipped out, like my co-host Cameron, he still can't get his head. Why don't you watch these movies anymore? I'm like, don't care,
Mm-hmm.
just no interest. I switched once I hit the off switch. That's it, and my life immediately became happier because I
Oh
was
yeah.
watching something I wasn't enjoying. Um, Same with sci-fi. Same with a lot of stuff. Once it's become not enjoyable and generic and bland, and I'm getting no imagination, no excitement. I hope it never happens with horror. That's why I'm sending out the warning message, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want it to happen to horror. Horror is all about sparking that imagination or that primal urge
Oh
of
yeah.
we're not the apex predator anymore. There's this whole thing of we're top of the food chain and we'll never be shifted off it, and we're so comfortable in our lives that nothing can ever affect us. Horror serves a very vital purpose of reminding us that actually we're not,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be our fault. You can just be the wrong place, wrong time. But if you read from the flesh-bound book written in blood, then you're asking for it. Just putting that out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you go break into the temple and take the golden nugget that's been warned with all the incantations, you're kind of asking for it. So there's times it can be our fault.
Yeah, you can't go smacking a hungry shark and expect to get away with it.
Yeah. Oh god, that reminds me of that Australian surfer.
Ah,
Remember the surfing competition? The shark comes up, you just like, yeah, stuff you. Buff.
yeah.
That's the way to do it. But you know what I mean? There's times when you are asking for it, but the whole point of horror is it can be not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
You can just be wrong place, wrong time, just by existing. You might just look like a tasty morsel for a demon. Well, you can't help how tasty you are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Personally,
there we go.
Personally, I feel it's all about love of horror, terror, and romanticism because a lot of horror people, if you notice, are big kids. Deep down, we're all just big kids having fun. Yeah, me too. Me too. Having fun and recreating those magical moments that we experienced when we were little kids in the 80s or the 70s or whatever decade. That first enchantment moment,
Is
like
that your
we
polite way of saying you don't know what decade I was born in? You think I'm an old fart?
no, nope. Just
Just
put it
say
out
it. Just say it. It's okay. I'm comfortable.
no, I'm an 80s kid myself, but that magical enchantment moment, like I found with Poe, and then I found with a lot of 80s horror movies, we want to recreate that. We want to give it to other people and show them
Mhm.
to show them how we fell in love with life, to show them what life means to us, how we connect with life, to give them that same experience that we had, and then they can give it to others, and they can give it to others. It gets bigger and larger and super, and then it encompasses everything, and everyone can enjoy it.
Fantastic. Just to wrap up because we've been going an hour and a half.
Oh,
These things are always starting to overrun now because it's like I kind of leave it open. I sort of leave an hour aside, but it's like nah, let the conversation go. That's what we're all about here.
yeah, you get
Um,
good
what else
conversations.
have you
It
got in the
happens.
project? I know you did poetry recently, didn't you? You released 3 poems.
Yeah, through D&T Publishing, there was a horror publishing contest that I entered,
Mm-hmm.
and they entitled it Three Poems to Chill Your Bones. And it I don't readily have a physical copy of it right now, but I can send it to you, Colin. It's a ghostly dark and gray image, and in big decaying kind of yellow letters, it's Three Poems to Chill Your Bones, and
Mm-hmm.
it has my poems on it, but you can't really see them too well. But I that was on purpose. But I can send you the poems. And also, I'm in between publishers with my books right now, but I
Mm-hmm.
do have a book, if you don't mind me showing my vampire book called Once Upon a Grave, and it's the first in a vampire trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on the second book right now, and it's been quite a while.
Who did the
Um,
cover?
yep. Oh
Who
no,
did the?
I didn't do the cover.
Well, who?
My former publisher did the cover.
Oh, they read the.
But I'm hoping very much to get involved with Ghost Orchid Press in I think it's Cambridgeshire, UK. They're the
Mm-hmm.
first gothic horror publisher I found, and I really really like them. And I'm hoping they take me on
Oh, cool.
because I would love to be with them.
You mentioned D&T there. We're obviously fast friends with Dawn and the guys. We've had quite a few authors from D&T on,
Oh
and
wow, cool.
hopefully, I think we're trying to get a few people on for their latest drop, ABCs of Horror. Oh,
Uh-huh.
sorry, ABCs of Terror, Volume 4 has
Hmm.
just come out there. So hope we get a few people on that. Really good guys. Once again, there's more than one way to do things. You can
Oh yeah,
self-publish, you can go small press, you can go the traditional route. You can do a combination. I've had people on here that while they're with the publisher, they still produce their own work. So maybe what's not suitable for the publisher, they produce their own. The point is that there's no shortage of ways you can get out there and
exactly.
sort of share your feelings and your art with people. Just don't let anybody tell you there's only one way or the right way or you're less than because you haven't done it their way.
Absolutely. I've always said that my whole life to people too. I believe in that 100%. You're very right about that, Colin.
No, it's just that and that's what we're trying to do here is obviously not just share it with people, but try and encourage people like yourself to keep going and try and give you a wee bit of a platform. It's just another tool in the box at the end of the day.
Hmm.
We're not to be all and end all, just another tool in the box. Let's get it out there and let people enjoy what we produce. So, William, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and hopefully you're sticking with us, and we'll see more of your stuff in the future and feature it in the show. Uh,
Oh, you definitely will. Thank you, Colin, so
maybe
much for
we'll
having me.
maybe we'll come back and talk about Let the Right One In. That'd be a good one to talk about at some stage
That would be wonderful.
because
I would love
I
that.
want to do a deep dive in that, but I want to read the book first, so I have the
Yeah,
experience of all three. Um, that's a really unique story.
it is.
If anybody hasn't checked it out, it's worth it. And something that Chloe Moretz wasn't horrible in. Shame, she's so much potential, but she just seems to have got these absolute stinkers of movies to be in. It's just it's really bad. Poor wee girl. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, and all that kind of stuff. I'm terrible for plugging. I really am, but click the buttons that makes you see us again. Tomorrow we're talking about Dog Soldiers. Monday, on with Sue Robbins to talk about burnt offerings. Taking a wee bit of break with obviously our country's in official mourning at the moment for the next 10 days, so I'll not be doing as many live streams. Just these are ones that pre-prepared, so next few days will just not be as on as much, but things will return as normal. And until next time, folks, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.